This is gonna be rough. Hello, kindred hearts. Welcome back to Heart Chats, where we talk about all the things in our hearts that most people never hear about. So today I want to talk about a topic that I believe is impacting many people, but we suffer in silence, and that is mental health. Now let me say, things have grown from the time when I was in my 20s till now I'm in my 40s. There's a lot of talk about mental health and the need to go through therapy and the need to deal with past trauma. So I'm really grateful for the breakthroughs in the mental health arena. It's no longer like, even for those who come from a religious background, mental health challenges were labeled as demons, having a demonic influence, not being spiritual. I mean, there's so many things that this was labeled as years back. So I'm grateful for the growth. But nonetheless, in as much as we've grown, the society that we live in has changed so much that it's like becoming a fertile ground for mental health challenges. For example, there are so many people that are lonely, so many people that don't have real life connections, so many people who don't have anyone that they can call a friend, because of the way that we live. We live in a society where everyone is just in their own bubble, Everyone's walking around in their own bubble. We are attached to our phones, and it's a love-hate relationship, because on the one hand, our phones allow us to connect to other people and hear other people's hearts, but on the other hand, it disconnects us from having real life conversations. For example, if we're watching something and we don't like it, what do? Fast forward. But can we do that in a conversation? Have you ever wanted to fast forward someone in a conversation? You just want to be like, let's just get to the end of this conversation. It's horrible, but that's the society that we live in, where we want to fast forward our conversations. We don't want to sit in conversations. We don't want to wrestle with someone as they figure out what they're thinking. We are so impatient. We're emotionally impatient. That makes us emotionally disconnected. But that's the society we live in. If we don't like the channel, we turn it. And just like with conversations and relationships, if we don't like it, we turn it. I believe that's why the divorce rate is so high. We've taught ourselves that if we don't like something, we just change it, instead of fighting through it, instead of being connected and committed to something. So we live in a world where anxiety and depression is huge. People don't have real connections anymore. People don't feel loved. People don't feel seen anymore. And I went through that. I experienced anxiety and depression a lot. In various forms growing up. Never really felt like I fit in with my family. Felt like I was different. I thought I was adopted, but I look just like my mama. So maybe I'll put a picture of her up and you'll see when she was younger. People say that we look just alike. So I knew I wasn't adopted. I came from my mama. But outside of that, I just didn't fit in. And that made me feel lonely growing up. It made me feel like something was wrong with me. And then when I got into my 20s, I worked really hard. I was very ambitious. I'm still ambitious. And I just was trying to find my group, find my people, But it was hard. I had a group of friends that I would go out with, that I would talk to, but I can count on one hand the amount of people in my life that I really feel like I could be myself and felt accepted, But then, once I got older and I was just trying to find my place in life after I moved to New York. I'm originally from South Carolina, so it's like a country town to a big city. I was losing my mind. That's another story for another day. But I felt so depressed and so alone, especially in New York, because there's so many people. And the more, it's like, you ever been in a room, a crowded room, and you feel lonely? That's how it is in New York. It's just a huge room, there's so many people, so many things going on around you. But I felt alone, even though I had people that I would talk to and, go out with and things like that. But I didn't feel like I found my kindred hearts, And it developed depression. Like I started to become super depressed. I was working hard, I was successful in my career, but not in my heart. And then I joined this church that was very controlling. And I'm a fighter. I've been a fighter my whole life. Not like physically. No. Like I'm a fighter mentally. Like no matter what's happening, no matter what comes my way, God has built me to survive. I used to always say when I was growing up, I don't have what do you call that thing? What's that word? Perseverance. Yeah. It's like I don't have perseverance, but I have boldness. Like my name, Ariel, it means lioness of God. So I was like, I feel like I'm a lion. Just like a lion, they can't run for a long time though. So I can't go for a long time, but nonetheless I can go. But getting back to the story, like I just felt depressed, and being in that environment made my depression become stronger. I was always feeling like I wasn't enough, I wasn't adding up, and genuinely I wanted to be accepted. And I know that was birthed from my past, my dad not accepting me from birth. So that created this void in my heart that made me want to be accepted. And I would go after trying to be accepted. And man, cults are a perfect breeding ground, or a perfect fertile ground for people who are trying to heal. Because they seem to offer love, but in actuality, they'll tear you down more than how you came. But I had to go to therapy. I was on medication 3 times in my life actually for depression. First time I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I don't feel anxious. Like I can actually do things without being overstimulated, overthinking, feeling fearful. But then it backfired. I started gaining a lot of weight, and then I was like, okay, I don't need this medication. Came off of it. A couple of years later, had to go back on it because I was really struggling. And really, now looking back, as crazy as it is, I think I would have needed it for the first time around, but the root of my depression was connected to my environment. I needed to change my environment, 1, and I needed to change my mindset, 2. When those 2 things changed, depression didn't have a hold on me anymore. It's crazy now that I think about it. Like I thought that I would have to take medication for the rest of my life, but in actuality, that's not the case. There's a root to depression. Yes, chemical imbalances has its place, but there's a root, and either it's a situation where our situation or circumstances has to change, or our mindset has to change, or both if you have major depression, depending on what you have. But when those 2 things change, the depression goes away. Or let me rephrase that, you can control it and eventually change. And that's what happened with me. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm not depressed. I can still feel joy because I now see life as a journey versus having to be at a certain place. I'm like, no, every day is a journey and experience, and I want to learn. So I'm not in a rush per se. I do have moments when I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to get to a certain place in life, but I've learned to trust the journey because I trust the person who's in control, God. So I'm okay. So this was just me wanting to share my heart. I will give more information later, talk more deeply about depression, but just wanted to put it out there. Just wanted to do a video and put it out there. Love to hear from you guys, hear your experiences, what you're going through. And until next time, remember, You are loved. You are seen. You are important. Bye.